don't understand it, guys. You know what? When this season began and when the previews came out, this season seemed like it held so much promise for the Orange. A lot of the core of our team from last year was coming back. Tyus Battle was coming back. We had new recruits, including one of the best coming in, Jalen Carey. And this season that seemed to have so much promise. Boy, in the last half of the season, it crashed with a thud. And pretty much throughout the season, the Orange looked for consistency. But apparently they had none. Boy, I tell you what, it just seemed as though there were times where the Orange looked like the all-powerful team that they could be. But then in other times, like against Old Dominion, they looked like bums. And I mean, the last half of the season, it looked as though they just mailed in their performances. Especially after that great victory against Louisville. You know what? Louisville was a high point of the season. And then came the tragedy on 690 involving Coach Boeheim. It just seemed as though that tragedy took the wind out of the Orange's sails. Because boy, did they crash with a thud coming down the stretch, going 4-8, including holding leads against North Carolina, Virginia, Duke. And I mean, they just went, and I mean, to top it all off, that first round against Baylor. You know, Baylor was struggling at just as much, if not more than us, coming into the tournament. Baylor looked like they were going to be right for the picking. That could have been the best opponent the Orange could have had. But I mean, it just showed Tyus Battle hadn't been on a court in about 10 days. And of course you could tell from the body language, it was like the Orange didn't want to be there. And guess what? We get bounced in the first round by those Bears. 78-69. Sad end to a sorry season for the Orange. And I mean, this is going to be an off-season of uncertainty. Although Battle has already indicated he's going to go to the draft. We've got 4 new recruits coming in for next year. And we wonder, is Chukwu going to apply for a 6th year of eligibility? Is Brissett going to be coming back? At least he's talking like he's coming back. Is Jalen Carey or any of the others thinking of transferring? I hope not. Because, I mean, maybe Carey just wasn't ready for the rigors of the college game yet. But, you know, he'll have a season of conditioning, and he'll be ready, hopefully, when it comes around again in November. Plus, we've already got 4 good-time recruits coming in. Bryson Gooding, Quincy Guerriere, John Bolajak, and especially Joe Girard, who helped Glenn Spalls win a state title. And maybe this Williams kid who's from the Netherlands that a lot of colleges are starting to become high on. Maybe he could fill the void if Chukwu does not decide to apply for a 6th year of eligibility. But I mean, it's not just the guys that crashed with a thud. The girls were hoping to make a good run. They were seeded 3rd. They had home games on the Dome. A good win against Forum. But then when some jackrabbits from South Dakota State came in, the Orange women crashed with a thud. And I mean, the jackrabbits made these Orange look like jackasses. And you know what? Good riddance to this season. What a disappointing one for both the men's team and a disappointing end for the women's team. I'm very disappointed with you, Orange. Very. All that promise turned up empty, and I hate empty promises. I don't like it when people go back on their word and don't live up to expectations when they've got all of this talent and all of these expectations. We deserve better, and hopefully next year will be better, or people are going to start thinking, did Boeheim stay past his prime as a coach? Is he just coaching out the string waiting for his son to get through with his eligibility? Well, Buddy is expected to be a cornerstone with his shooting. You better get back with it. 'Cause, we need you back in your form, coach. Hopefully that whole tragedy didn't take a lot of it out of you. And that's the way I'm going to put my stamp on this. Good riddance, you season. Oh, I'm going to say good riddance from that. And good riddance to the Mueller report. That was 2 years of nothingness. And it seemed as though the news media wanted to hold the American public in a trance. As you know what? Everybody's wondering, is our chief executive guilty of collusion? Well, Mueller all but exonerated Trump. And all but exonerated, but he found no evidence that the Trump and everybody were colluding with the Russians over the whole thing for the presidential election. But you know what? Democrats are pouncing on the opportunity. Hey, we need full disclosure. We need the full report. Well, Trump and a lot of the Republicans are saying, hey, it's over. But that was 2 years and $25 million of taxpayer money that seemed to be wasted. It just seemed to me like this was a whole witch hunt. But Democrats looking for ways to get a guy who they think is unfit to be the president out of there. Well, you know what? These 2 years and $25 million are up. It's time to get down to business. There's more issues that this country needs, other to find out if their chief executive is guilty of collusion, which it turns out mostly it seems as though he's not. And of course, speaking of Trump, what about Michael Avenatti, the attorney that tried to get him over this whole Stormy Daniels report? Seems as though he may be guilty of trying to strong-arm Nike, or maybe guilty of wire fraud. You know what? The plot thickens, and karma is a bitch, ain't it? I'm gonna go from talking about that to talking about more bad news. Hillside's decided that they're going to close their facility down there at the former Seneca Army Depot. It was Kids Peace before, but then 15 years ago, Hillside moved in, started their campus there, using some of those old barracks there at the north end of the depot. Well, you know what? Yeah, it was for troubled kids, and there were times the sheriff's department had to go out there to quell anything that happened. But you know what? It was a little bit of an economic boon for Seneca County. Heck, there were quite a few workers there. Now, it seemed as though it's another thing that Seneca County has a black eye for. A thing that they couldn't keep. And it was a good economic boon, and years ago I almost tried to get a job out there. Well, hopefully maybe something can go in to use those old barracks. Yeah, one of the issues was they needed work. But these kids needed help. And it's a sad thing for Seneca County. I'm sad to see it go. And last but not least, there's one thing I'm glad to see go. Rob Gronkowski. 9 years he tormented the Bills. 9 years he tormented a lot of defenses there in the NFL. Of course, he was known more for his boorish antics. Oh, dancing there. Oh, going on Dancing with the Stars. Doing this, doing that. And some of the stuff he said. Well, you know what? That Amherst, New York native, good riddance. We don't need to be tormented anymore by Gronkowski and his antics. We don't need any more of that Polish kielbasa, if you know what I mean. He could spend all his days making a fool of himself for all I care. But now, about Brady, 41, 42 years old, I think there's a lot of people, including me, that want to say good riddance. Hey, be with your wife and kids. You've been in tormenting Buffalo and the NFL long enough. And Gronkowski, you are not the GOAT. You are a goat. But you're a bad ram, if you know what I mean. And I will say good riddance to this season. This is the end of my 11th season here. Will I be back for a 12th? Who knows? I'm counting on it. Thank you to Dewey's. Thank you to coaches for being on board. Hopefully we can continue this relationship. Good. See ya until August.